Good afternoon, everyone. Before we officially start the meeting and I say anything, Lori has a few words for us. So she's not on the agenda because this was the last minute thing, but I'm going to ask her to come up and speak to you first.
Good afternoon. There is a memo that will come out this afternoon with a couple of updates for tomorrow's vaccine event. One is I have been in a meeting, so unless a message has come through in the last hour and a half, Bartels let me know late yesterday they are not expecting possibly the shipment of boosters for tomorrow. They were expecting for it to have arrived by now. As of late yesterday, it still had not. So they are hopeful it may still show up for tomorrow's event. If not, I have asked them to please provide us with another vaccine event date between now and October 27. Bartels feels confident they can provide us with another vaccine date, so we will cross that bridge after we see what arrives for tomorrow. The second quick update is finally, after, a few weeks of back and forth, Kaiser update. I'm disappointed and I'm very sorry to share that Kaiser has made it very clear. I also put them in contact with the Bartels rep directly, and Kaiser was clear they will not cover RSV or booster vaccines being offered here at Horizon House by the vaccination team coming from Bartels. For the influenza vaccine, they're not making that easy. They said that what will happen for that vaccine is if you elect as a Kaiser member to receive the flu vaccine here, Bartels will bill, you will get a denial, and then in turn be privately billed by Bartels the private pay fee of $94 and some change, and then you have to submit your denied claim to Kaiser to get reimbursed for the influenza vaccine. What I have learned is Kaiser is really shifting and they are shrinking their contracted providers in their network. They are trying to drive their members to Kaiser facilities. That's ultimately what they are working towards. So I did ask if they could provide a list for me to include in the memo of any other nearby locations they are contracted with currently. And on the memo, there is a Walgreens that they're contracted with, and then I believe a Harborview site. I called Walgreens late yesterday just to confirm and learned it depends on the Kaiser plan you have. So if you elect to go to a Walgreens, you need to make sure you call with your Kaiser card, specifically mention what your plan is with Kaiser, and they will tell you whether they are contracted with Kaiser to provide the RSV vaccine and or the booster. So I'm very sorry that this is really shifting for Kaiser. I did ask and have not had a response yet on whether Kaiser would be willing to send a Kaiser vaccinator, and have not heard yet. So certainly if they come forward, I will let you know. I anticipate with the system as large as they are, I would be very surprised if they did send out a vaccinator. Especially one of the comments was because we are geographically so close to the Kaiser Clinic, it makes it harder for them to justify sending out a vaccinator for such a short distance. So I'm very sorry. I certainly will have some kind of paper posted tomorrow for those of you scheduled to be aware whether we have the booster in. If you did not sign up for the booster or did but want to still come, please do, and you can consider getting your influenza and or RSV vaccine, both of which will be here tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Well, with that distressing news for all you Kaiser people, I'm going to start my remarks. When I became a member of the Residents' Council last year, the job I was assigned was liaison coordinator. And in that capacity, I attended the Event Support Committee meetings. That committee consisted of your neighbors, mainly lay people, who taught themselves how to use the equipment and who helped put on your programs and presentations. They were hands-on, they worked with staff, they worked early and late, and they were indispensable. Then came the much-needed upgrades to the room and to the equipment and all the problems that came with the new technology, both because the systems were unfamiliar and more complicated, but also because the original audio contractor made more than a few mistakes. Along with that came frustration, meeting after meeting with Brian Levitt, Brian Hulse, everybody, Risa, everybody. And at that point, event support decided that they could no longer support, they would become the Event Advisory Committee. And they pleaded with administration for some professional help because Kerry Krensky, as great as he is and as competent as a TV professional and as willing, couldn't do everything all the time. Could you, Kerry? So before Mike O left, he left us with a gift. In addition, he left an addition to the staff in the new chart of accounts for an audiovisual expert, and he is now here in this room with us. His name is Nick Linsau. I hope I pronounced your last name right, Nick. Many of you have seen him working at events recently, and I want to tell you a little bit about him. Nick has a BA in film and cinematography from Central Washington University. Prior to coming to Horizon House, he worked for Sleep Foundation, a media company, doing video content. He also freelances, doing weddings, music videos, and product advertising. So if any of you are getting married soon, keep Nick in mind. His focus will be in several areas. Glitches, we have lots of them. We need to get the glitches resolved. He will interface with vendors to improve production and performance of the equipment, and he will suggest replacing it where it can't be fixed and we can't get what we need. He's working on getting the 3 mounted cameras in here to record. Right now, they can only live stream. So they're live streaming this, they live stream the fireside chat, but if you have a performance or a production and you want it recorded, we still need a standalone camera and a cameraman, which has been Nick. He will work at the live streamed events like now to ensure that we have decent audio and video quality feeding HHTV and YouTube. And best of all, he'll be available to residents to help you with your productions and get the best possible programs that you can get. He can video and he can integrate video with PowerPoints. And finally, if he accomplishes all of this, I will suspect him of being a wizard, because we have not had this. If you're scheduling events with Risa, talk to her about maybe including Nick to help you. Next thing I want to talk about briefly is I want to say a few words about Mithun, the architect for the West Tower project. There are strong feelings among residents about the efficacy of the project, both pro and con, and I'm not going to tackle that Hydra monster now, or ever, actually. Instead, I want to assure you that Mithun, the architects who were hired to design the project, are listening to residents regarding the design of the public spaces and amenities, which will be of most concern to us when it's finished. I've heard rumors that residents think that Mithun is doing what it wants and not listening to us. That's very far from the truth from my experience. I've been to several of their presentations, Zoom meetings for specific groups, and I can tell you they are listening. They follow up, they change their plans if possible. They have held focus groups, they have shown us the plans in progress, They've listened to our concerns, and they are working closely with several groups of resident users to get input into the design of common areas and outdoor space. They've also been on site several times. They were here yesterday in the activity room. Some of you were there showing them around to see how your rooms operate and what those rooms will need in the future in the new facility. Remember, the planning and design is still in progress, and administration and Mithun are working with the residents. Last week, they held a meeting in-house here with our resident architects, George Siyama, a renowned Seattle architect, administration members, and me as an observer, the only non-architect there. And they showed us the entry to the proposed building and a garden that they intend to include in the front that they're calling the Sunrise Garden. And they wanted feedback, and they got feedback, let me tell you. So it was very interesting. And almost most importantly, they are working with the Environment Committee and Bill Roach on issues of energy efficiency and sustainability. And it will be a sustainable building, and which will be great. Okay, on Saturday, September 23rd, between 2 and 4 p.m., Alex Tibbetts, who is a trustee, and her son Max will hold the second Tech Cafe, and they will provide tech help with any portable devices that you can bring down to the Fireside Lounge. Come on down if you need help with your phone, your iPad, your laptop, and I think it was lots of fun last time. Alex even brought donuts. Maybe she'll do that again. Don't just come down just for the donuts, though. bring a piece of equipment. Okay. Thank you. Next is Erica. Huh? Repeat the time. Oh, 2 to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Erica.
Lisa.
Advance that slide, Erica.
This one.
It's not advancing? No.
Okay.
Okay, well.
That's all right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to, we want to, start off the meeting and kick off this portion with really addressing the safety concern that happened the other day. And so I'm going to bring up Brian Holtz. He's going to talk to you about what happened and some things that we have in place, and then I'll come back and do my part.
Thank you, Erica. Some of you may not be aware of something that happened, and so as always, we want to be very transparent when there's wonderful things, like Mithun's working with us and listening to us, as Deanna mentioned. And there are times when there's disappointments and some things are upsetting to us, which this was. We had an individual come into our building that was unwanted yesterday morning. And I had heard that the information wasn't as accurate as it was, and so that's what we want to hear is what really happened. And so what happened at very early in the morning, we had somebody, an intruder, force open the exterior glass doors of our vestibule, and then he got into the building. We had 2 security officers on duty at that time. We had one that was patrolling the portion of the building that was far away from the desk. One was behind the front desk. Once this individual got into the lobby, if you know that there's a wall between the reception center and the elevator banks there, the person went behind that wall, and when security officer ran around to find him, he was out of sight. So here we have somebody in our building very early in the morning, and we didn't know where he was. Security officer called the other officer, and we started searching the building. We had our security officer, James, who works during the day that you may see. We he was called to come in early to cover the desk so that the front desk was not unattended. And we searched the building for about 30 to 40 minutes until we had a phone call from a resident that somebody knocked on his door. And it was this individual. And that was very upsetting for the resident, as we can all understand. And so our officers immediately went up to where this location was, found the individual, and escorted him off property. So that's what happened. It was very unfortunate. It shouldn't happen, right? We shouldn't have people in the city wanting to get into our building. We should hope that we have an environment that you feel safe, that this wouldn't happen. But unfortunately, this occasionally and rarely does happen. And so what we're looking at is I contacted the company that services our doors at the main entrance to see, gosh, why can we pry those doors open? That shouldn't happen. Well, the company came out and confirmed that they can, because the problem is that the mechanism at the profile of the lock up top in the motor is such a low profile that we can't put a solenoid lock up there to lock those doors. There is resistance. It's very hard to open the doors. Probably none of us would be able to go and open those doors, but if you imagine somebody in the night that wants to get into the building that otherwise doesn't have somewhere to go, he forced his way in. We did ask them to take a look at, is there new technology? Is there a way that we can lock it because of how long we've had those doors? And that we also asked him to confirm that they're functioning properly after them being forced open. They're functioning properly. The company's going to get back to us to see if perhaps there's an opportunity for us to mitigate and prevent that from happening again. As always, when there's something that happens, there's an opportunity for training. So I spoke to my security lead, Les Brooks. Some of you may or may not have met him. He's a retired police officer, and we have some training opportunities with our staff. So that is what happened. And so some of the next steps also we're doing, aside from the training and looking at the doors, is that we'll do a security analysis of our building. We've done this before with Seattle Police Department, and my brother's a King County Sheriff Sergeant, and sometimes I bring him out to take a look as well, that we network with others, and we'll see where are our weaknesses and where are our opportunities to continue to maintain a safe community. And so that you feel rest assured that we're looking under every rock where there's an opportunity to improve the community around our doors. So some folks may not know what we do have for security is that we did enhance our security staffing model about a year ago. And so we now have security officers 7 days a week during the day shift, 7 days a week during the evening, and our staffing model is for 3 security officers on night shift at all nights. Now, we're not fully staffed at the moment. However, I do have an interview with a security officer coming up in a few minutes, and we have a new security officer going through orientation tomorrow. And so we perhaps may be fully staffed here soon, but the community leadership, we decided to invest in our security officers over a year ago because of our understanding of living in the city. And if we go a few blocks away from Horizon House, we can see, unfortunately, some of the things that are happening in our city. We are sometimes very immune to those things, but the ripple effect, as we recognized yesterday, is that some of that will come into our community, unfortunately, and that's what happened. The incident did happen Monday. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. Nobody got injured. There has been no reported crimes, thankfully. The other thing to be aware is we do have 4 garage entrances, over 20 doors that we have for entry points. And so we have to make sure that those are all secured. And they are locked at all times, as you folks know. We ask you when you come in the main entrance to use your card key, to use and to come through the door, or your guests use the intercom that we have there that has a camera in it, so that we can ensure that that little bit of inconvenience is for your safety. I have over 50 cameras that Brian Levitt and his team support for us for surveillance. And that is a tremendous amount of cameras that we have that are high-resolution cameras. And so there's a part that we all can do. Certainly, we ask staff to keep an eye out for when things happen, and any of the contractors that are here. And we ask residents if you see something to let us know, which you do. It's not your responsibility for our safety and security. However, we appreciate your help when you see things to certainly report it to the reception center, and we have the two-way radios to communicate to the security team, or if we don't have somebody here, the facilities team or myself. So I thought that it would be important for you to know that this happened, to be transparent, not to shy away from, yes, perhaps there's an opportunity for us to do better. Perhaps there was a way that this may have been prevented, unsure, because of the way this person came to the door and ran so quickly. The other thing as a reminder is if you drive, that a lot of you are very good about, and we remind contractors and staff that we wait until the garage door closes behind us in case there's somebody that wants to follow us in. So I will put together a memo for all the residents, because not everybody's in attendance today, that outlines these things that I talked about today. And I have also done on an annual basis is a personal safety seminar that I will look for an opportunity to do that again, that talks about these and other things about personal safety. So that was where I jumped into Erica's time. Thank you, Erica. But we felt that it was very important for you to understand what happened. And I have two questions if we have time for them. Are there, Risa, do you have microphones, or do you want to use one of these? Okay, Risa's going to grab one for Anne Marie.
Where am I going? My question is, hold just a second, please.
Brian, you said that you escorted. You said that this person was escorted off the property. I would assume this would be labeled as breaking and entering. Were the police notified?
I do not believe the police were notified, and the challenge sometimes with that, and I talked to Les about that, is we don't have a location to detain somebody. Our security officers aren't going to put hands on somebody. We don't have a room where some buildings have a space to detain somebody. We don't want to detain them in the Robert Durham room where they may throw a chair out the window or we don't know what. And so part of the problem was the officer was not 100% certain if the person ran in or out the door, and so it took a moment for them to detect that. So we did not contact the police.
My name is Ruth Yeomans, and I'm a resident on the 18th floor where this incident happened early yesterday morning. I've now heard several different stories. The first story that we heard was that the intruder closely followed a legitimate entry by a staff person. Now I'm hearing that he was actively prying open the door. In either case, if he was entering behind an employee, was there a person manning that front desk at that time? And if so, they should have asked this individual to go through the standard visitor entry screening and get an entry badge. And if there was no security person at the front desk, why? And if there was a security person, and the story that we just heard now was happening, that someone was actively prying open the door, how could that happen if there was a security guard at the front desk?
There was a security officer at the reception center behind the counter. The individual pried open the doors. Security officer made contact from behind the desk, instructed the individual to leave the premise. At the time, the person did not, continued to come in the building. When the officer went to come around the wall, if we're familiar with the front desk, the person was out of sight because he ran. That's what transpired, and there was no staff in the area. Okay, comment was that she heard that he pushed the elevator to go to the 18th floor. I'm not aware of that. If my security officer were aware of that, they would have gone there. However, I'm describing what transpired from me reviewing the surveillance footage of the cameras that I have and talking with the staff.
Brian,
Yes.
this is the second time that I know of that something has occurred outside those front doors at odd hours. One was when people were walking back and forth and ultimately stole a heavy brass bird that was mounted there on concrete. That took a long time to do, but nobody interrupted. Now there's somebody who you admit that the security people with the glass doors say that's very difficult. It must have taken a little while. Why, if somebody's watching the front desk or all of those monitors, didn't they just punch in 911 and say, we are a vulnerable community, could we have help? And I'm so upset that your security people would not have notified the police of this. Goodness, we can do all we want to do with telling one another, but we need to call on the people who've got the wherewithal to handle it.
Like I described, there's always a training opportunity and an opportunity when something transpires. The amount of time it took this person to open the doors was not very long. He had the ability, once he got his hand in, he forced them open very fastly. And the security officer, it happened very fast. So he forced the door open to get his hand in between the glass doors. He forced them open with his hands.
Thank you, Brian. So this will be absolutely an ongoing focus. You know, I want to just say it is very troubling to all of us, but this is something that, to be honest, it was on the agenda as an absolute high priority. And one of the ways in which, you know, I am reaching out, I talked with Deanna just days before this happened, and the resident council leadership with, you know, we need your help. This is not happening to only Horizon House, and this is a big issue. We can work very hard to secure our building. We have fencing, we have all kinds of things. But the truth of the matter is, you know, people who, you know, are not contributors to our community are roaming around First Hill. And we really need to focus on getting them off of First Hill, but that is not something we can do alone. And so one of the things we do need to do as an organization is to partner. So if you have contacts, I know I have tried to reach out to the COO of Virginia Mason. You know, I tried to reach out to the conference center, the convention center. If you have contacts of leadership at the convention center, Virginia Mason, Swedish Hill, or even Kindred, please share them with me, because they're having the same issue. We want to talk with them. We want to learn what they're doing and, you know, perhaps work together, you know, and improving just overall safety of our First Hill community. But this is on, you know, our list. You'll get the memo. We'll continue to talk about it. It's going to be a priority and ongoing conversation. All right, so I am going to transition, not because this is not important, but we do have a few more things we want to share. So one of the things, you know, we want to talk about a little bit is, you know, some of our bright spots. We've had a lot of not so great news. So a bright spot is the resident picnic. It was phenomenal to see so many residents out. We had how many? What was our final count? I know we had about 200 RSVPs. How many? 185 people. That is outstanding. And it was a fun time, you know, by all. I enjoyed being able to walk through and just be able to see, you know, how the community comes together. You know, I want to personally thank the resident council members. The resident council hosted a luncheon for me to get to know me better in the private dining room. That was really an awesome opportunity for us to talk, for me to listen and hear about priorities, things that the council wants to achieve over the next year, things that the council has worked so hard on, and things that are important to residents overall. So it was a great opportunity, you know, to fellowship and just learn more. I've been very busy this month. You know, one of the ways in which, you know, I will be able to lead better is by making sure that I have good information and knowledge of how all of the departments in Horizon House work together. And so I've spent the past month meeting with directors, managers, leads of every department and meeting their teams to get a better understanding of what everyone does from their own perspective. That's been very important. I want to hear how people who actually spend time in the day-to-day department experience it. So that's been a part of my learning. I want to provide a bit of information about the West Tower update. And I'm sorry, I'm going fast. I know we have a lot more to cover. That's not just my report. But I wanted to make sure that I honored what I talked about last month. People knew that we had the focus group with Promatura, and we now have the results. So Promatura is they are a research company, a marketing research company that specializes in senior living. And they did a couple of things for us. They did some market study with a mailing, and they also did 2 focus groups. And what we were doing, we were testing at that time, are people interested, in the product that we're offering, and are they willing to pay the price that we think we will be charging? And, I'm happy to say that the answer was yes to both. And they were tested in a variety of ways. We listened. There was this conjoint analysis where it was almost like a test where we asked people to pick their preferences. And, people, they are excited about our expansion of Horizon House. They thought that the product was nice. We showed them some renderings. And so, it was one of our benchmarks to pass to continue exploring this process. And so it went over well. We had a survey to 314 households. They had a telephone survey with 95 people. And then we had 77 households recruited from the mail and television, the telephone surveys, to actually sit down and have a conversation. And we had, a room filled, 2 rooms filled. I believe we had over 50 people who participated in the focus group and gave good feedback. So that is one update. Deanna went through, the Methuen process. One of the things that we and Methuen have heard loud and clear, that names and words matter. And so there will be no clubhouse. However, there is an opportunity for residents to help us name whatever that space is going to be. So stay tuned for more, but we can use your help since Clubhouse is obviously not a hit. We want your feedback. So we'll do some fun things in the next month or two to put a name on the place that matters. There also will be no hobby rooms. So again, we're going to reach out to the residents. It's your home. Have you name it, and we can have some fun in the process. So I wanted to update that. Methuen is, they had a presentation on September 5th. I believe, we had a room filled so people can ask questions. But one of the things that led to was we realized that not everyone is interested in everything, and that we have different levels of knowledge about the West Tower, the expansion of Horizon House. And so what you will see over the coming months, you're going to see 2 things. You're going to see more series. So if you're interested in the places where we do activities, our quilting room, our plant room, our offices, you'll be able to look at the design for that. If you're an outdoor person and the outdoor spaces mean the most to you, you'll be able to participate in that. If you're interested in the money, like how are we spending money? What are we doing? How are we paying for this? We're going to have Sawgrass come in, and they're going to walk through kind of the deep dive into the finances. So we're going to have more workshops so people can spend time, going a mile deep in the information and asking the questions that matter most to you. The second thing that we are going to also be doing before the end of the year, I believe it's in November, is we're going to do an update on the master plan, so that you understand the timing, what's going to be done, because again, that's the things that matter most to people, our common spaces, the things that we all utilize. So that's going to be coming up soon. So I'm going to pause there. I'll, Deanna, maybe 1 or 2 questions and then turn it back over. We're at 2:35. 2 questions, 2 quick questions, please. All right, no questions? Great, wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over. I believe I'm turning it over to Ned.
Thank you, Erica. Is this working? Can you hear me? I think what you've seen so far this meeting already reinforces what we say often here, but we also have to be reminded constantly. We are a resident-driven community. We are engaged. It is our culture of involvement. And it's not only at the top where we do have resident members on the Board of Trustees, not just token members that don't even have a vote, which is the case with most retirement communities. We have active and engaged. Activities. We do not have, and I hope we never have, on staff, a resident activities director. We run the activities. We are involved and we are engaged, much different from most retirement communities. It's what makes us different, and I think what makes us so superior. We have a variety, a huge number of activities, and if you can't find something to be involved with or something that you're interested in isn't there, you start it. You get a few others or do it yourself and come to the resident council and we'll help. All of these activities are financed, funded by another resident activity, our wonderful Monday market. You're going to hear more about it from Jennifer, but our Monday market is another of our resident-driven activities. All of these activities not only involve you, they require you to participate. Without you, they don't happen, it won't happen, and this would be a very different and probably unfortunate change in our culture and our success. Horizon House and the Resident Council has always endeavored to make this a very, very healthy place. What the Resident Council does is offer you the opportunity of participation and involvement. All of the medical literature you see and read says that we, older people, need to be involved and engaged. And we try to do this by providing an opportunity for every one of you to volunteer. But this requires you to do it. You must participate. You must do some small share of the work that helps all of us. You help yourself by helping us. Never overlook that. Don't be shy. Participate. Please. Your volunteering and participating is so necessary, and we all need each other. Today, we have a couple of serious and urgent needs for volunteers. Our Memorials Committee, which has been headed and so ably for such a long time by Dorleen Agenbrod, needs a new chair. This committee works with families of residents who have passed away to arrange memorial services and help them out. And we need someone to step up and help fulfill this important job. We also need leadership in the Chapel Committee. The Chapel Committee provides the Vesper services and other spiritual programs with the help and cooperation of the Inner Well-Being and Spiritual Department, headed by Linda Purdy. This is a vital activity and service. And we need someone to step up and head that committee. All faiths and philosophies are involved. It is not limited to any particular religion. Again, I beg, please someone come forward and step up. Either contact me or contact Ann Kelly of the coordinator for the liaison committees, because both of these work with the administration's spirituality department. Finally, I want to say thank you to all of you who do participate, and there are an incredible number out there. Maybe take on a little more, step up to a leadership position, or if you're not participating, jump on in. You know, the water's not cold. It's fine here, and you have nothing to lose. So do not hesitate to come forward and participate in us. Thank you again. I now will turn this over
I'm going to make an
to you.
Yes, I'm going to make an executive decision here. We're running late. We have the time to finish the meeting, but Maryann Counts has to leave at 3 o'clock. So I'm going to ask her to come up and do her presentation, and then we'll get back to, I don't want her sitting there sweating the next 15 minutes, wondering if she's going to be able to get through it. So come on up, Maryann. Brisa, could you advance the slides to Maryann's spot? Thank you.
That was very nice. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm here to tell you about the art studio today, one of the many activities that Ned was just talking about. I'm coordinator for the art studio, and it's located on the B2 corridor, and it's the activities corridor that we're looking at right now. Okay, so let's see. Oops. There we go. Okay, who we are. There are 46 members of the art studio at this point in time, and many of them are active artists who have a passion for one particular art form. There are others of us who want to learn new techniques through classes or sessions. Some of us just want to be creative. And then there's others of us that say, you know, art is something that I wanted to do when I retire. So here I'm going to do it, and they come to the studio. So there's all different levels of people who participate in the studio. We have an association with Pratt, so that we have Pratt instructors that come here. In fact, we're starting a new session tomorrow. They have a cost associated with them that we pay to Pratt. In this photo, you can see it's a picture of Linda Niebank. She is working on the print press, and she's doing pulling off a print called a monotype. So this is one of the classes that we had through Pratt. There's also, we've also had some ink and watercolor classes, and those were so well accepted that they were offered twice. We've had some colored pencil classes through Pratt also. But these are all paid classes. Not everybody who is part of the studio can afford a paid class. So we also have sessions. And these sessions are great because you don't really have to know anything about the art form. You come, all supplies are provided, but the best thing is they're at no cost to you. In this slide that's up here, you see Molly Schaup, who is conducting a session on the creative process. She led us through taking an object and breaking it down into abstract pieces. We also had sessions on collage, greeting cards, coloring, neurographic art, which was sort of a meditative art form that you draw and color and you get into a different state of mind. It really was very good for the folks who took that class. And then another class on Zentangle, which was a pattern type art form. All of these, again, were free and no cost. Last year, many of you went to the holiday art sale that we had. And the artists that participate in the studio contributed their work for this sale. You can see a few of the photos here of what was on sale. We had profits of over $2,200 that we gave to the Monday market, which went back into the Residence Council funding. So it was a great way for the artists to help you do your holiday shopping and also to exhibit the artwork and then to sell that and give back to the community. We are having another holiday art sale this year, December 1st and 2nd, and the planning for that will be in process just very shortly. There are others who use the studio also. We have the art therapy folks. Mariko Sata, under Erica Campbell's direction, had art therapy classes. And then occupational therapy also uses the studio for some of their patients. So for the future of the studio, we're planning an expansion with the construction of the West Tower that will also have a creative space in addition to an educational space. We want to be able to show YouTube videos down there, educational things, as well as produce art. In addition to that, because of public demand, we are also getting a ceramic studio, and that studio will be under the auspices of a knowledgeable group of residents who are now working on the details with Methuen. So how do you become a member of the studio? Well, just contact me. Here's my phone extension, 3254, and my email. I give you a brief orientation to the studio, show you what's available for your use, and we have a lot of donated supplies down there. And then after that orientation, you get 24/7 access to be creative in the studio. So hoping that some of you would like to join and just get a little bit more creative. And right now this is something that Nick put together for us. This is just sort of an overview of the studio. One of the videos that are now available because Nick is here with us. So this is just some of the artwork that's there. Unfortunately, we weren't having a class at that point in time, so he was just looking at things around the room. We're very proud of our work and very proud to show it off to you. So if you're in that hallway, would love for you to stop by. Let's see here. Before I turn this over to, oh well, I don't know who I'm going to turn it over to, but before I do that, Deanna gave me permission to do one other thing. I'm going to switch my hat real quickly here. I'm also a member of the art committee, and I hope that you all remember that wonderful art show we had last spring. Well, we're going to have a craft show coming up this year in April, The Art of Crafts, and it's going to be on April 11th and 12th, and many categories will be available: paper, wood, ceramics, metal, and assemblage art. So more details will be coming, but I just wanted to give you a little taste of what's in the future here. So, oh gosh. All right, stop. I don't know how to stop it, Nick. Oh, you're doing it. Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Good afternoon, dear neighbors. It's my pleasure to serve all of you this year as co-chairman of the Employees Recognition Fund, commonly known as the ERF Fund. My wonderful co-chairman this year is the wonderful Sam Sperry. So Sam, thank you. And in our beloved community, we have a two fundraising campaigns each year. So I would like to explain a little bit about each of those. The Horizon House sponsors Partners in Caring, which provides financial assistance for residents who have run out of money due to no fault of their own. Also, grant enrichment grants and scholarships for our employees and their families as of this year. Their campaign goes from January the 1st through December 31st. Now to our, again, Employee Recognition Fund. Our Residents Council sponsors our Employee Recognition Fund, which provides all employees, excluding executives, and with a gift at the end of the year. Our residents give the gift of money, and our employees, it is a way to say a special thank you for all that they support us with all year and give us the services. So this window for us is a 6-week window limit, and it is from October the 1st to November 15th. On the 30th of September, our elves will be putting the welcome letter in your cubbies. The Residents Council sponsors this fund as our way of giving back to our employees, every employee. And so I like to say it's a win-win for everyone. We win with daily service and support. The employees win with our gift checks for the holidays. Totally a win-win. Another win-win is gifting from your individual retirement accounts or your IRA. Give in directly to the Employees Recognition Fund. You can avoid tax on the amount you're giving. Please remember to notify your administrator or broker to process your request as soon as possible, and especially to put your name on the check. We had a treasure hunt last year. The check should be made payable to the Residents Council of Horizon House. Checks may be placed in our ERF mail slot opposite the copy machine in the mailroom at any time. The October Employee Recognition Fund letter will be there, like I said, on September 30th by the elves. Our residents have always been so generous in the past, and I know you will be again this year. No check is too small, and no check is too large. It's an equal opportunity. And so again, we just thank you so much for making such a difference to our employees, especially during the holiday time. We thank you again for your great generosity, and after the meeting, I will be happy to have a table in the fireside room for any questions or any way I may be of assistance. Thank you. And I will introduce, Deanna Nelson, our president.
Thank you, Sally. The minutes of the previous meeting have been distributed to the council members. Are there any corrections? Okay. There being no further corrections, and Ned having moved for adoption, hereby ask you to vote. All those in favor? Yay? Okay. Next, we have Karen Smith with the treasurer's report.
Okay, and then, first of all, you will see some numbers, but I think the important thing right now, here we are at the end of September, and in October, all you committee chair will be making budgets for the new year. You will be making budgets for the new year. And your coordinators will be sending out all the information about how you do that. Now, I want to say two things. If you want to see how much money your committee has spent, you can go into the library, and the report through August is there. At the end of September, I will prepare for all the committees a list of exactly how you spent your money this year, because I think that might be helpful to you as you prepare for next year. This year was a bit confusing because we transitioned from a fiscal year ending in March 31st, and now as we look forward, we just need to think about the calendar year. So the budget is your time to look at what your committee does and say, is there something different we want to use the money for? I mean, it's a time to be creative and to perhaps solicit some new members who might get pretty excited about what you do. And I just want to say we really do, and Ned has said it so beautifully, we really do appreciate our residents' involvement in our program and your willingness to volunteer your time for the Monday market and our programming. And I have to say, one of the benefits of being the treasurer is you get a glimpse of all the clever things you people are doing, and you are just great. So on that note, if I do something, I will, let's see, what do I want to do? There we go. Okay, we're going along. We're for the most part just kind of going along as we'd hoped to go. The nice thing is we have increased our interest income because we've been able to put our money in much higher interest situations. So anyway, so there's nothing too fantastic about looking at that, but it is going along fine. That's kind of what I can say. So anyway, that's it. And now I am going to turn this over to Jennifer, who's going to give you the word.
Hello, everybody. So I am reporting on the Monday market, and this report is an update since the Resident Council General Meeting of August 15th. It covers market earnings from August 21st to September 18th. And the numbers reported are the deposit total. So I'm just going to give you a range for those 5 Mondays. The low range was 1,570 that we made, and the high range was 2,635. So the total for the 5 weeks is 10,892. Employee purchases for those 5 market days totaled 1,440. So you can see they continue to make a big contribution. New residents are both donating and purchasing some pretty pricey and very nice items, and I'm sure that many of you have seen those in the market. And outside dealers continue to be a noticeable contribution to the market. So I've been talking with various volunteers, staff, and residents regarding the co-director position. Barbara and I had a meeting to discuss the coverage of different areas in market operations, and I was pleased to learn that she is willing to contribute her efforts to various important functions after she retires as co-director. We considered numerous reorganization ideas and who could fill specific areas of responsibility. And of course, we concluded that the market needs volunteers. I want to take this opportunity to be more specific. Volunteers fill 2-hour shifts. Most of them work only 1 day a week. You have likely seen the Monday volunteers in the 4 areas of the market: furniture, clothing, appliances, and general household items. This is the sales force. On the remaining days of the week, volunteers help to process items. That includes researching, cleaning, testing and repairing, ironing, pricing, displaying, or storing donations. There are 2 general areas: clothing and everything else. The market also relies on a cadre of experts, volunteers with special knowledge regarding, for example, silver, china, jewelry, pottery, artwork, electronics. In addition, the market depends on 2 other volunteer categories: cashier and bookkeeping. You've seen what they do at the front desk, taking your money and wrapping your purchases. The bookkeepers arrive later and count the money several times and take it to the resident council office and then to the bank. I believe it makes a positive statement that many of the existing volunteers have been with the market for years, and they keep coming. So please join us. One last thing, unfortunately, there were no brunch models this month. Thus, I am wearing today a new donation. And it even has pockets. So, and this style appears in several current catalogs, so it's very current. And it will be on sale next week. So it's time to make the transition from summer to autumn, so October lunch modeling will feature warmer wear. Thank you.
Do we have a little thing of the garden? It's on the next slide. Why don't you put it up there now? We'll look at it first. Okay, great. All right. After Maryann Counts, I realized why so many people asked me, was I going to do a PowerPoint? And I kept saying no. Now I regret very badly that I didn't do a PowerPoint. So you'll just have to put up with my voice. But these pretty pictures show our garden and illustrates one of the first things I'm going to tell you, that the function of the garden is to adorn Horizon House. In particular, you're looking at the C, D, and E garden terraces, and this is the C, which also has a labyrinth for you to use. I've never used it, but I wish you would. Let me tell you from the pictures you can see that we grow flowers. Annual flowers and perennial flowers. Sometimes they grow on bushes and sometimes they're more herbal. And although some members do put vegetables in their gardens, we don't encourage vegetable gardens. We don't have a fully vegetable garden. That doesn't adorn because, especially this time of year, it looks like it's being used. And the flowers adorn all the time. And gardeners may not plant trees, so you can't put a tree on your garden. We were told that way back in the 80s when we had more of a Wild West garden committee, someone on the sea level put a cherry tree out in front of her garden, and it's still there now. But that was a different era. in any event, so our garden goes back a very long time. When I took over the chairmanship, I was given archives that of our minutes that dated as far back as the 70s, so we go a long time. Although Jane Hastings, who many of you may know, moved here in the 80s and claims that she was the very first garden chair. So that was probably when they organized more than when they existed. And there are presently 42 plots that we have in our gardens to be gardened. And the size of a plot varies somewhat, but in general, they're about 11 feet by 3 feet wide. And when I joined the garden committee in 2017, there were 36 plots. We now have 47, as I said, and we are promised 58 in the new proposed West Wing Tower. So there will be an increase in it, and we hope that the new people will be joining our committee just as you are now. We pitch again that we're looking for members all the time. The gardens do turn over. We do have a short list now. At one time we had as many as 13 people on the list, but we're now down to only 2. Our gardens will not exist while the construction is going on because it's in the very area where they are. So we'll be in retirement for 3 years. So the committee chair, me, keeps a list of those who are wanting a garden. If you want a garden, you call me, you write me, you get in touch with me and tell me I want a garden, could you put me on the list? And I will put you on the list, and when a garden comes up, you're the one that gets the plot. If members go on extended vacations or are sick, then they arrange for other members to do the basic watering and upkeep of the garden so that they always look nice, again, to adorn. When we get too tired and old to do the gardens, we're expected to give them up. And as you can expect, this is sometimes a very difficult period for people. Each year, the garden committee supplies soil to the gardens to amend their plots and to enrich their soils. And we also provide basic tools, supplies such as shovels, pitchforks, brooms, hoses, fertilizers, watering wands, and the like. And all of these are stored in an area that we call the cage, which is on the E level of the garage. In addition to those kinds of resources, we also can help people if what they're doing is difficult. We can help them with their work. We can get people to help them. And this would include things like carrying large bags of soil, cutting back plants, dividing plants, removing plants, putting in new plants. And we can help you with that. Occasionally, if the work is onerous and if it takes a long time, you'll have a charge for that. But in my experience, that has never happened in my term. So, but that may happen. We have about 50 members in the garden committee, and they do a number of things besides gardening. And in that way, we do a lot of service to Horizon House. For instance, although all the external stuff that is outside the building and around the building is contracted out, there are a lot of things that we do that are supplemental to what they're doing outside. For instance, you'll see that the garden around the terrace dining room, the terrace dining room has gardens all around it. The contractors put that in, but we do supplemental watering, especially the hanging baskets. Jeff Graham has been recently in charge of getting the hanging baskets, making sure they're up, and then Charlie Weems has been involved in arranging for the waterers to come every day of the week except for Monday when the contractors come to water those hanging baskets. Also, we have the B1 terrace. The B1 terrace has all kinds of camellias and annuals that are on there too, and we have a team of water is again arranged by Charlie Weems, who waters them every day of the week except Monday. We have a garden committee, also designs, maintains, and waters the assisted living patio on the second floor of the assisted living area. And Jeff Graham also is our gardener in that part of the garden. For the past 10 years, Gussie Howe and Bob Eminger have put together and managed a communal herb garden for the use of the residents. And I'm told that especially the parsley goes very fast. You got to get up there and get it fast, and it grows more slowly. But it's a good help. There's a lot of rhubarb, I think, that goes unused. It would be a wonderful thing to pick from the garden. Anna Marie Godson is the creator and has continued to organize our June in Our Gardens event, a festival that lasts for the whole month of June. And she's done this for the past 7 years. And this month-long celebration is aimed at showing off our gardens at the height of their flowering beauty. And the festival includes lectures and other activities that encourage residents to focus on the gardens and to come and enjoy them. A sub-event of the June in the Gardens has been the Wednesday luncheon, and that's proved so popular that in fact it has spun off and has become a separate event that lasts almost the whole summer. We also have a wonderful, something that we call Sunny Mondays. It's a cocktail party every Monday from June to the end of August. And that was invented by Nancy Frederici, who I don't see here, and more recently has been taken over by Betty, if Nancy is there. Betty Wagner has been hosting it for the past 3 months. Is she here? Yes, she is. And by the way, Betty has heard us all by stepping down from it, and we're now in need of another host for the Sunday Monday. And if anyone wants to step up, we're encouraging you to do it, following Ned's participation. By the way, I would also like to say, I did. We also have an orchid garden. You'll see it when you pass from our east building to the west wing. It sits in that little area with a wonderful look down on our garden. And that has been, I don't know how long that's been going on. I don't know the history of that. But right now it's being cared for by Marie Tapp and her team of gardeners, and they water the orchids, take care of them, and get replacements for them when they're needed. Let me just make one thing, because it was said by Deanna, and it's part of Ned's too. We have had good luck with Methuen. Methuen has listened to us. We're very happy with what they are doing for us, the 58 plots. We have some concern about where they're located, but I think that has been assuaged because we also found out that there's going to be, they're calling it a winter garden. I think that's a good name. I was thinking that maybe instead of sunny Mondays, we might have some gloomy Mondays for the rest of the year and do it in the winter garden. Anyway, that's the garden committee. It's a great committee.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carol Roach, and I tend to end these meetings with burning questions. Burning questions are questions that any residents have about Horizon House and wants to ask, and it's my job to find willing and qualified people to answer the questions. We have 5 questions, and I'm reading 2 of them this week because we're already way over time. The first one, a resident asks, what is the timeline for the following master plan moves that are expected to occur before the North Tower construction begins? The answers come from Eli Lemansky, and he always understandably says these are tentative. Just to save time, I'll give his answers after each stated move. So the questioner, first stated move the questioner asked about is when will there be a move for the executive offices to the new constructed mezzanine? And Eli's answer is after August 2024. The second move that she asked about was when will the expansion for the bistro move to the outer wall along University Street sidewalk? And Eli's answer is after July 24. Finally, she asks about when will we be able to complete the expansion of the terrace dining room? And Eli's answer is the bistro project is expected to nearly double our dining room capacity, and currently the terrace dining room project by itself is not expected to add much additional capacity. So that was news to me. I think it's been said a few times, but it's finally getting into my head. So the fine dining will happen, I guess, in the terrace dining room, and the regular dining will happen in the area that we currently call, and that will be, I'm not sure if it'll still be called the bistro, but that we currently think of as the bistro. Okay, the last question. We residents are aware that some services we request from staff come with a charge, but we have no way of knowing which services are charged or what the amount will be. A resident recently found that her package in the package room was slightly too heavy for her to carry home, so she asked for it to be delivered to her apartment. The charge was $38, which surprised her greatly. Where can residents access a list of charges for individual staff services to prevent such surprises in the future? And the answer came from Brian Holtz, who said, "You're right, we should certainly provide a list of services provided and the associated fees for them. We need to get ourselves organized to develop such a list, and we'll do so, but the task may take a little while. We hope it can appear on HH Connect." So now is your chance. If you have a concern about anything related to the Horizon House community, even if you're just curious about something, please meet me in the Fireplace Lounge right after this meeting. It's my job to find people to answer the questions. I'll be here for at least 30 minutes, so bring your burning questions to the fireplace.
Okay, so turn it off, Risa. Does anyone, I want to say one other thing about volunteering. You know, when I was thinking about, I knew that people were going to ask for people to volunteer and ask for help. But I started to think about when I moved in here and I was brand new and didn't know anybody. I mean, a lot of people come in here knowing somebody and have some connections, but there are people who move in here and don't really know anybody and look around and see people doing things and feel intimidated to join a committee, to get involved, not knowing what's expected of you, not knowing what you're going to be asked to do. So I just wanted to say that anything that, go to the programs. If you're new here, go to the programs. Take advantage of that. If there's something that interests you, talk to the chair of the committee. Join the committee. They're not going to ask you to chair a program or to do something that you're uncomfortable doing. Get your feet wet, but you can only get your feet wet by diving in. It's easy. Everybody's kind. Everybody will be gentle with you, and they'll be grateful that you're there and part of their group. And maybe in a few years, you'll be standing up here like me, right? Okay. Any questions from anybody? All right. Dining services, like Carol, will be out in the fireside lounge waiting to answer your questions and take your comments. Sally will also be in the lounge to answer questions about the Employee Recognition Fund. So you have 3 people to go talk to out there, all very important. Thank you all.